Your muscles can absorb blood sugar without insulin, completely independently. A 10-minute morning walk switches that system on. Most people spend years fighting a problem that had a shortcut the whole time. Here's the mechanism, and it's worth understanding properly. Inside every muscle cell, you have proteins called GLUT4 transporters. Think of them as small gates that let sugar into the cell. Normally, insulin opens these gates. But here's the part almost nobody explains. When your muscles squeeze, like when you take a step, those gates open too, through a completely separate pathway that doesn't need insulin at all. When you walk, even slowly, your muscles push those sugar gates to the surface and pull blood sugar out of the bloodstream directly. Your pancreas, the organ that releases insulin in the first place, senses blood sugar dropping on its own and has no reason to release more. Insulin stays low. Think of it like a building with a front door and a side door. Insulin is the front door key, but walking opens a side door that insulin doesn't control. You're going around the back, and nobody is checking your insulin levels at that entrance. Jørgen Wojciechowski at the University of Copenhagen showed that muscle movement alone increases sugar absorption by roughly 50%, with no insulin involved at all. And almost nobody is talking about this. Here's why this isn't abstract. Visceral fat, the fat packed around your organs, behind your belly button, is locked in place whenever insulin is high. It literally cannot be released for energy while insulin is elevated. So every time your body spikes insulin, from stress, from food, from a sharp blood sugar swing, that belly fat stays exactly where it is. But if you take a short, easy walk before breakfast, before the first spike of the day, your muscles absorb the sugar already floating in your bloodstream through that side door they control. Blood sugar comes down. Insulin never rises. Visceral fat stays available to burn. If you want to see this side door in action, look at Diane. She's 48, an HR manager, and spent 2 years doing everything the fitness industry told her to do. She ate clean. She did high-intensity spin classes twice a week. But because she sat at a desk for 7 hours a day, her background insulin stayed permanently elevated. Her body was trapped using only the front door, meaning her visceral fat was locked in a vault. Then, she changed exactly one signal. Before coffee, before checking her phone, she put on her shoes and walked for 12 minutes. Just pavement and easy movement. 6 weeks later, her overnight insulin level had dropped. Her afternoon cravings, the 3 p.m. vending machine pull, had basically gone. She hadn't changed her diet at all. What changed was the signal her body received first thing every morning. Most videos on this topic will tell you visceral fat is about stress hormones, and that morning walks work because they're calming. That's true as far as it goes. What they don't tell you is the actual mechanism, the side door your muscles control, and why that changes how you should approach the walk entirely. This isn't about stress management. It's about stopping the blood sugar spike before it starts. If you think of it purely as a stress tool, you might assume meditation or breathing exercises do the same job. They don't. You need the muscle movement specifically. Breathing doesn't open GLUT4 gates. Walking does. This also explains something vague advice never could: why gentle works and hard backfires. Hard morning exercise spikes your stress hormones, which raises blood sugar, which triggers insulin, which locks visceral fat back down. You'd have just worked hard to reverse the very thing you were trying to create. The system needs movement, not effort. Slow isn't a compromise. Slow is the specification. How many hours a day do you sit at a desk, in a car, on a sofa? Drop the number in the comments right now. I read every one. But here's where it gets interesting. You don't have to earn this. The side door is already there. 10 minutes, easy pace, before breakfast. That's the entire mechanism. Your muscles were always ready. To trigger this system yourself, you don't need a training plan. You need a specific input, and it looks like this. First, the timing. You want to step out within 30 to 45 minutes of waking. This is the exact window when your liver has finished releasing its overnight glucose store, meaning your blood sugar is slightly elevated and your muscles are perfectly primed to intercept it before food or caffeine create a competing signal. Second, the duration. 10 to 20 minutes is the entire biological requirement. If you only have 10, you still get the full GLUT4 activation. Finally, the intensity, or rather, the lack of it. This must be a conversational pace. If you cannot comfortably speak in full sentences, you are moving too fast. For most healthy adults, this sits somewhere between 90 and 120 beats per minute. The walk that feels like it's doing absolutely nothing is the one that is actually working. Where you do this matters too. Outside is always better, but for the exact opposite reason most wellness channels claim. Morning light doesn't suppress your stress hormones. It actually spikes cortisol by 35 to 50%. But that spike is supposed to happen. It's your body's natural wake-up rhythm. The walk's real job isn't to block that cortisol surge. It's to make sure it clears out. Steady, calm movement ensures that cortisol peaks and naturally drops within the hour, instead of getting stuck in an elevated, fat-storing plateau, which is exactly what happens when the first signal your brain gets is an inbox or a stressful headline. Your muscles don't care about the scenery, so a treadmill works fine, but your brain needs the light to complete the cycle. What not to do? No stressful podcasts, no urgent emails mid-walk, no hill sprint at the end because you feel like you should be doing more. The moment the walk becomes a workout, your stress hormones spike, insulin follows, and you've undone the whole thing. Here's a different way to see why this works. Think of it like a shop that keeps its doors closed. Every morning, sugar builds up outside, insulin arrives to manage the queue, and by the time you sit down at your desk, your fat cells are already in lockdown. One walk opens the side doors. Sugar flows in through that entrance. Insulin never shows up, and your body stays in fat release mode for hours. Permission to start smaller. 7 minutes still activates this. Start there. Here's the timeline to actually expect. Days 3 to 5. Probably nothing noticeable yet. The signal is being sent, but the downstream effects haven't caught up. Weeks 2 to 3. This is roughly where Diane's cravings started fading, before the bigger insulin shift showed up on paper. Week 6. This is where Diane's actual blood test changed. Overnight insulin measurably lower. Nothing else in her routine different. Do this consistently for 4 weeks, and here's what shifts. Your background insulin level trends lower, your blood sugar stops swinging up sharply after meals, and the 3 p.m. energy crash. Your body running low on fuel quietly fades. None of that requires a single extra calorie burned. It requires a consistent early signal. You are never fighting visceral fat. You are just missing the side door. Every week, this is exactly the kind of depth we go into here. Not another stress management tip, the actual mechanism your body is running underneath it. If you want the science behind what your body is actually doing, explained simply, every week, subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. That's the only thing this channel does.